This story still, this is, somebody found the clip of Bernstein scolding me. And I'm just out of frame when that camera pans. I don't think we need to play it, frankly. Or maybe.
I think it's funny just to set your credibility on this topic.
All right. Well, we can play that in a minute. But with that said, Woodward's audio recording of Donald Trump is having, is still creating problems for the Trump administration. This is a 6-minute interview. We're not going to play or I should say 7 or 8 minute interview. We're not going to play the whole thing. This is Jake Tapper interviewing Peter Navarro. Remember, Peter Navarro is a White House trade advisor, but also became the sort of White House coronavirus czar for whatever reason. And
not temperament, I would say.
Not temperament. Just because he was the only one willing to go on television all the time and call it the China virus or the Communist Party China virus. And here he is trying to figure out a way of deflecting from the fact that Donald Trump is on tape saying some basically that he knows exactly the implications of this coronavirus. And he knew this in February of the first week of February. Here it is.
Let me explain something.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Fine. You want to talk about? Let's turn to that.
Yeah. Let's
turn to the revelations from Bob Woodward's book, which comes out on Tuesday. I want you to take a listen to what President Trump told Woodward in private on February 7th.
Great. That's a great date to start.
You just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
So that's February 7th.
Yeah.
He's stating that the coronavirus is 5 times deadlier than the regular influenza. Now, here's what he was saying publicly 2 weeks later. Take a listen.
Because I talked about the flu and in comparison to the coronavirus. Flu has a fatality ratio of about 0.1%.
Correct.
This has a fatality ratio somewhere between 2 and 3%.
Given that, we don't know exactly.
Based on the numbers so far.
And the flu is higher than that. The flu is much higher than that.
So just to be clear, I'm going to give you the mic in a sec, but just to be clear for people watching, on February 7th, he was acknowledging to Bob Woodward behind closed doors, coronavirus was 5 times deadlier than the flu. Less than 2 weeks later, he was saying the exact opposite in public to Sanjay Gupta. He was misleading the American people. Why?
Okay, now that I have the mic, give me a minute to walk through the timeline, because I think this is really important. On January 31st, that was basically the starting gun to fight this virus that came in from the Chinese Communist Party. Let's not forget where this started.
Pause it for 1 second.
From this president.
The virus came from the Chinese Communist Party. They're recruiting bats now. Unbelievable. Like what century is this guy living in? But go ahead.
This is a serious matter. He's taking down flights from China. He was called a xenophobe and a racist by Joe Biden.
No, he wasn't.
Later had to apologize.
No, he wasn't. And he didn't apologize.
Yeah, we'll do the fact check on that. I watched that.
I just did.
All right. Well, you're wrong. Nope. So January 31st pulls down the flight, saves probably hundreds of thousands of American lives. Now, what happened then, Jake? Here's what's important. This is breaking news for you. In that first week...
Pause it for 1 second. First off, I got to give kudos to Jake Tapper for just... No, he didn't. Just being completely deadpan. And then this thing. When you see this, when you see like this thing, when Navarro does that, that is like the classic sort of like, that's like one of the greatest tell that someone is lying to you, I think. I just want to do this. Like, I'm pointing at you here, but before you give me the critique, knowing that I'm lying, I'm going to point at you twice. That's what he's doing there. He's only do that. Just go back just a little bit. I want to watch that. And then we can go to the second half of this, but go ahead.
Joe Biden
No, he
later
wasn't.
had to apologize.
No, he wasn't. And
Well,
he didn't apologize.
Yeah, we'll do the fact check on that. I watched that.
I just did.
All right. Well, you're wrong.
Nope.
So January
There it
21st
is.
pulls down the flight, saves probably hundreds of thousands of American lives. Now, what happened then, Jake? Here's what's
There it is, right there, right there. You see that?
In that first week of February, leading up to February 7th, we here at the White House started a strategy. It's basically was hope for the best, prepare for the worst, stay calm, and begin to attack this virus from China on four different vectors. Hang on. Let me have the mic here.
Well,
PPE,
I'm not giving you 10
therapeutics,
minutes to do this.
vaccines.
Cut it. Okay. So almost 10 minutes later, here we go. We'll go to the next part. This is like, I guess 4 or 5 minutes later, and he's still going on. Still won't answer the question. Still won't answer the question. Like, how do you justify this?
Express that to Woodward, but at the same time,
2 weeks later, he's saying that the flu is deadlier than the coronavirus.
Jake,
Why wasn't he honest?
You just don't want to listen, Jake. You just
I
don't
want you to
wanna
answer the
listen.
question.
I am answering your question. You just don't like the answer. The answer is in February all the way through the middle of March, when the World Health Organization finally said there was a pandemic and China was hiding the information. Finally, that's when we knew that there was
Pause it for 1 second.
You know what, Jake?
That conversation with Woodward, he says, I just got off the phone with Xi. This is on February 7th. I just got off the phone with Xi, and he told me it's 5 times deadlier than the flu, and it's in the air. So China's holding back this information, supposedly, deep into April, as far as Navarro is concerned. Yet Donald Trump had it. Go ahead.
Organization finally said there was a pandemic and China was hiding the information. Finally, that's when we knew that there was a pandemic. And you know what, Jake? We were at that point prepared for the worst. In February, we were moving mountains on PPE, therapeutics, testings, and vaccines so that in the time that we needed those things, we got those things. And
we did not have those things.
What we've been doing on vaccine development, we have a possibility of getting a vaccine by the end of the year. And I put that right in a memo on February 9th under the advice of the president in terms of getting on this situation because it might be serious. You can't have it both ways, Jake. You simply can't.
I'm not trying to have it both ways.
In February, nobody knew. No, nobody knew. Not the president, not
February
you,
7th.
not Nancy Pelosi, not Bill de Blasio.
He knew it was deadlier than the flu, and he was lying to the American people 2 weeks later.
Jake, you're cherry picking.
I'm not cherry picking.
But you can say, look, I think
Look, here it is.
all of this is asked and answered, Jake. Look, here's
Pause
the
it
thing.
for 1
I'm
second.
honest with you
This
guys.
is like when cherry picking gets defined as you are taking the time that he lied, and you're taking an example of that he knew the truth, and then you're just choosing a time shortly after that he lied. You're cherry picking.
You're cherry picking by picking the best available evidence.
You're just taking the good evidence.
You're just being succinct.
No, nobody knew. Not the president, not
February
you,
7th.
not Nancy Pelosi, not Bill de Blasio.
He knew it was deadlier than the flu, and he was lying to the American people 2 weeks later.
Jake, you're cherry picking. Okay?
Cherry picking.
But you can say, look, I think
Look, here it
all
is.
of this is asked and answered, Jake. Look, here's the thing.
He was
It's
not
like,
honest with the
you
American
guys-
people.
That
You're not
wrong.
answering the question.
You're not honest with the American people.
we go.
CNN is not honest with the American people.
Okay.
CNN. You want to go there? I mean,
I said
CNN,
you're not
we
answering
can
their
do that.
question.
I
Here's
have
the thing.
answered
Thank you,
your
Peter
question.
Navarro. We just played
I've
tape.
answered
You
your
didn't
question.
answer the
I've
question.
answered- no, you can't say that.
You didn't
I
answer the
answered your
question. No, you didn't.
repeatedly, Jake. You just didn't
Okay,
like the
Peter
answer.
Navarro, thank you so
didn't
much.
like
I
the
appreciate
answer.
your time today. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And I would just like to remind the
I
American
answered
people
the question.
watching
I am reminding
that the United States has less than 5% of the world's population, and the United States has more than 20% of the world's coronavirus deaths.
There we go.
Wow.
Oh man, that's a masterclass on how these guys lie and just change the subject. Like
8 minutes.
I answered it.
Yeah, I answered it.
Didn't like the
Didn't
answer.
like the answer. Unbelievable. All right, let's play that clip of Bernstein. So I described this story on Friday, I guess. Look, my critique of Woodward is similar to the critique I had of Woodward 15 years ago, which was that he withheld his reporting At that time, he was a Washington Post writer until it was popular to be critical of George Bush, reporting that he could have released, in the context of being a reporter for the Washington Post, a writer for the Washington Post, before the election, that would have probably, I don't know if it would have implicated the election at all, but it would have been the responsible thing to do. And the idea that in February 7th, Donald Trump is saying these things to Bob Woodward, I don't know, March 1st, April 1st, May 1st, when there's a debate as to what's going on and the president is out there saying this is not this coronavirus thing is all hype. It's not real. Would it have been valuable to have the journalism, the reporting that Donald Trump actually does believe that it's real, that it's dangerous? He does realize it's worse than the flu. I mean, I think obviously. How many lives would it save? I don't know. But it's almost impossible to imagine it's not greater than zero. But I was critical of Bob Woodward 15 years ago. And I mentioned the story that there was a reading of All the President's Men that I was asked to introduce. I said something to the effect of like, Carl Bernstein's here, who actually had a role in the reading, a small role. And that's great. And it's also apropos that Bob Woodward's here, not here, because the Bob Woodward of this era is gone because he has placed his own enrichment over the journalism that he's supposed to be doing. And I'm looking at that video now. There was a lot of like now famous actors. I had no idea who they were. I knew Richard Kind. And then they start into the thing and Bernstein does this. You can watch it. And I'm down at the bottom. I am sitting down at the bottom, like where the number 144 is on this video clip. You can't see me, but the camera was right behind me, basically. All right, so this is when they all come on stage to do the reading.
The escort committee comes down the central aisle, approaching the podium. He greets members of his cabinet and those who are waiting to be confirmed as members of his cabinet.
A lot of famous actors.
He shakes hands with the speaker, Carl Albert. Happy president, smiling. Ladies and gentlemen, President Nixon will, in a moment, address the conference.
All the President's Men, screenplay by William Goldman, based on the book by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, prepared for the stage reading by David Marshall Grant. Typewriter keys bang out, June 17th, 1972. Interior, Washington Post offices, morning.
Harry, all right, I've already got something for you. Couple of sleeping in bed.
This is Richard Kind speaking.
Goes through their bed, comes out the other side.
And before we resume, I'm going to take an unscripted moment just to take vigorous exception to what was said tonight about my colleague, Bob Woodward. He is a great reporter. He remains a great reporter. Most of what we know about the Bush presidency, we know from Bob Woodward. And as reporters and editors, we all have made errors in our careers, but I think it was totally inappropriate. We wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for Bob, and I do want to take vigorous exception to what was said. And I suggest everybody wait for his upcoming book.
Yeah, you got to wait for his upcoming book, of course, because he couldn't tell us that stuff as a journalist. I mean, yeah, it was an error, and Carl Bernstein didn't like me pointing that out there. It was uncomfortable, I will say. It was uncomfortable sitting there, but I don't know. What are you going to do?
Well, I think that was well done.
Thank you. They didn't have me on there. Apparently, like they're not going to videotape the intro. I don't think the people who invited me, I don't think I had too much of a problem with that. And it wasn't like a secret. It wasn't like I've been hiding my disdain for Woodward at that point.
Yeah, they just thought you wouldn't bring it up in front of.
No,
Bernstein.
I think they knew. They asked me to introduce it, and I said, I got to tell you, I'm gonna, talked. It wasn't the only thing I said, but that was the way that I wrapped that up.